Dear sisters and brothers, the movement for 15 has achieved its first major victory. The Seattle City Council's Minimum Wage Committee has just today voted for $15 an hour. On Monday, June 2nd, we expect this will be voted on by the full council and pass into law. Today is a historic day for low-wage workers, for the labor movement, and for anyone who believes, as we do, that no one who works should have to live in poverty. Protests and strikes of low-wage workers, the grassroots campaigning of 15 Now, of the labor movement, and of many activists, all of us together forced business and Seattle's political establishment to act. We forced them to lift 100,000 low-wage workers in Seattle out of poverty, to transfer nearly $3 billion to workers at the bottom of the wage scale over the next 10 years. This has come after decades of wealth being transferred almost entirely from the bottom up. As Occupy Wall Street said, the banks got bailed out, we got sold out. We need to be clear about what happened here in Seattle that led us to this point. 15 was not won at the bargaining table as the so-called sensible compromise between workers and business. What was voted on in the City Council was a reflection of what workers won on the streets over this last year. Let this be our guide. Future victories will also depend on the organization of working people fighting for our interests. We must recognize, as has been on display these last months, that our interests are not shared by big business. At every stage of the struggle, business has sought to undermine our efforts. Today, we set an example that will encourage workers all over the US and around the world. There are a number of corporate loopholes in this legislation. I urged and fought hard inside the council and outside to close them, and I will continue to do so. We've had to push back every day. We've had to push back against the endless wish list of big business proposals. We have seen the city's political establishment pass more loopholes for business. We'll come back to some of these questions in the near future, to get rid of the tip penalty, to shorten the decade-long phase-in, to get rid of training wages, and to implement a real enforcement mechanism. But for the moment, let me stress, the Select Committee of the Seattle City Council just voted to become the first city to institute a $15 minimum wage for all its workers. This will be the highest minimum wage in the nation. As the first Socialist City Council member in this city in more than 100 years, rallying for this demand in my election campaign last year, and fighting together with so many activists in 15 Now, labor and community groups, I am proud to say we have pushed hard for this historic step forward. We made it happen.
Our success here today reveals the potential to build 15 Now all over the U.S. I urge each and every one of you to get organized and help us further strengthen this movement, to spread this success nationally. Check out 15now.org to donate, get involved, and help us move forward. This struggle costs a lot of money. To push back against corporate America, it's going to cost us even more to spread this nationally. But this is our chance to tackle poverty and massive income inequality. So get involved. Please donate now. I encourage everyone to get involved in your union, in 15 Now, to defend all workers' interests. These are the steps needed to move forward. We could not have achieved this without the initiative of fast food workers, starting in New York to fight for 15. It could not have been done without labor continuously campaigning for 15. The efforts of unions to win 15 in CTAC last year were decisive, together with Kshama's election campaign, to prepare the ground to win 15 in Seattle this year. Over the past months, in every neighborhood in Seattle, 15 Now organized and mobilized for a $15 an hour minimum wage. Groups met weekly, held mass rallies and conferences to debate strategy and put it into action. Alongside the labor movement, they campaigned energetically for the best possible minimum wage in Seattle. This is how we won. Our victory today was not complete. Big business in the end did succeed in chipping away at our gains. We'll discuss our strategy. United Labor and community groups can come back to deal with these issues. But we should take this achievement as a new starting point. The measure voted on today is one of the greatest steps forward for the U.S. working class in decades. 15 Now and allies are already building on this victory, taking the fight to 15 all over the U.S. Already we have 15 Now groups in more than a dozen states.
When fast food workers struck for $15 an hour a year and a half ago in New York, they did so in part to register their outrage at this broken system, a system which maintains poverty wages in the richest country in human history. It is likely that most of those protesting did not expect 15 to be thrust onto the national agenda or won in a major city less than 2 years later. But that's what has happened today in Seattle. We did this. Workers did this. The victory in Seattle is just the beginning. Winning 15 here shows what's possible. It shows the power of working people. We will be back for the rest of our rights. Solidarity.